Hey everyone, I'm back with another tutorial. I am known in Second Life as Dream Resistance, and I'm making another tutorial for you guys to make clothing in Second Life, a little bit, more detailed, and hopefully I can teach you a few things that I've learned via these little video tutorials. What I'm going to cover today is making some wrinkles. So, first what you're going to do is create a little practice area, a little 5x12 by 5x12 area, with a little background fabric, just so you can see what you're doing. What you're going to do once you have this little background image going on, go to Layer, New, Layer, and when this new window pops up, go to the Mode, hit Overlay, and fill with Overlay Neutral Color, 50% gray. On any overlay layer that you do, anything that's 50% gray is going to be clear. So essentially this layer is going to be clear. You won't be able to see it. It doesn't change anything on its own. But if you take away the pattern, you can see that this is an actual layer. So take your little eyedropper on this gray layer and make sure you get your paintbrush color to be the same color as the overlay color, 50% gray. Make your background visible again. Go pick up a paintbrush and a decent sized paintbrush size. Go to the Mode and hit Color Burn. And what you're going to do, just for practice, is to create a couple of straight lines. You can hit Shift or hold Shift while you paint just to make them perfectly straight lines. So you get a line there, line there, line there. You're going to want to make sure that the opacity isn't too strong, otherwise you end up with really black lines across this instead of kind of just darker. Go back to your brush mode and hit Color Dodge. Same thing, make sure your opacity isn't too strong, and right above that darker line you're going to want to create a lighter line all 3 times. So excuse me while I do this for you guys. So now you have these weird double color lines, and they don't really look like wrinkles, but we're gonna fix that. So go to your Tools menu here and go, usually there's a teardrop right here, but right click it, and instead of having the blur tool, you're gonna take the smudge tool and make sure you get the sized brush that's gonna cover both of these lines. You're gonna want to make sure it's big enough to cover that. Start about that far away from the end of the line and just drag it across. You're going to want to make sure that the strength isn't too high on this brush, otherwise it'll just keep dragging instead of fading out like you want. And do it on this side too. Just enough to blur it a little bit and drag it out. And do it to all 3. I'm sorry this is taking a little bit of time, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And as you blur it out, it becomes more and more like a wrinkle and less like just 2 colored lines. As you're playing with it, you can decide maybe this one you want to curve a little bit, so you can curve it up at the ends if you want. With this one you can curve down. This would be the kind of wrinkle that you might see on the back of the knee on pants. Just a kind of a hint about where you'd see a wrinkle like this. And then this one would still be straight across, basically. So now you can see they look a little bit more like wrinkles, especially out towards the end. So go back to where you have the smudge tool, right click and hit Blur. And this time you're going to blur it a little bit. Real quick, you don't want to sit too long on these, otherwise you'll blur them completely away. But just blur them out a little bit, and look at there, you've got some wrinkles. So now you have a little bit of a tip on how to make some wrinkles. The best part about doing it this way is if you, let's say you mess up, you do this, whatever, you messed that up. Because it's not actually on this background texture, you're not going to mess up this background texture. So if you've got clothing that you've already made, the basic texture, because it's on this overlay layer, you can cover that up start over again, and it hasn't really affected this background layer at all. It's very, very helpful, especially when you're learning. You know, you may screw up a wrinkle or whatever. You can just paint over it. You get your paintbrush, go back to normal, and get a bigger paintbrush size, and you just paint over it, and it disappears. Ta-da! And now you can start over as if nothing happened, and it doesn't affect anything. So this is a great way to make wrinkles without totally messing up your project. So it's a good thing to keep in mind, good little skill to learn if you want to add some wrinkles to your outfits. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little tutorial. It wasn't as long as my last one. That one kind of took you through a whole outfit. This is just a little piece of one. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope it helps you add some little details to your outfits. Enjoy!